Yala.
Yada. So, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Very excited again to be here, and I'm very excited Liam is here. Um, Perhaps we should start by asking, you just arrived to Tel Aviv for the first time. How do you feel about it?
Yes, I got here yesterday. I'm delighted to be here. Many years too late, I'm sure, but it's just great to be here. It's been exciting.
Great. So just the structure, we're not too formal. We're not too formal, the two of us. We'll basically just have a talk, not necessarily a fire chat. So I think it's going to be a duet where I will toggle also to the podium to show some of my art. I guess first is for me to ask Liam, maybe tell us a little about yourself as an entrepreneur, the story of PCH. I had a chat with Liam a few years ago. We had dinner, and it's an amazing journey. So share with us a bit.
Great. Well, delighted to be here. So I started PCH back in '96. It started off as a sourcing and engineering company where we actually source products for our clients where they wanted to bring products from production lines. We started production in China, so from China to customers anywhere in the world. We worked with a lot of the large tech companies where we actually created products from their ideas and, as I say, brought them all the way through to consumers. Worked with some of the biggest tech companies in the world. Started working with startups probably around 2008, 2009 timeframe. Actually, 2008 was when the downturn happened, and then immediately after that, there was a massive uprising of great startups and great ideas, engineers leaving companies, wanting to make products and wanting to find ways to actually make products. That with the growth of devices like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, and then 3D printing, open source software, it just made it so possible for anybody to actually create a product, make a product.
I remember when I met you, what was amazing for me is to hear how you became like a gateway to China, in a way, residing in Shenzhen and having this vast network that one-stop shop to produce and execute amazing products.
Yeah, I think China has changed so much, and I think we were in there in '96, and where confusion was a competitive advantage there on the ground, and no one would tell you anything. So a huge amount of our effort and energy went into understanding it and being able to articulate it to our customers to give them peace of mind and to ensure that they knew where their products were coming from. They could see the factories anytime. We had people on the ground, and we could take products from those production lines to consumers anywhere in the world in a very short period of time. And being the solution for that was really important. I think one of the things that lots of people will mistake, they think we're a technology company. We're not. We enable technology companies to bring products to market. We're a service provider, and that's a big differentiator for us.
And Highway One, you founded Highway One as kind of an incubator. As far as I read, there are 89 companies there. So perhaps tell us about that, and also from the point of view of Israel, what you're looking for. Can Israeli companies participate? Are you looking for Israeli companies to take part?
Yeah, so Highway One we created, as I say, in 2008 was when the downturn, a lot of people started making products, and we saw a massive increase in the amount of individuals that were coming to us, asking us for help and how they should approach making a product. So very quickly, we said we needed to create a process to help all of these great ideas and bring them to market. So we created a program called Highway One, which was a 4-month program where we based it in San Francisco. We ran companies through it from all different disciplines. One of the things that we do in the company is we'll do the engineering, we'll do the manufacturing, the packaging, the logistics, the fulfillment, the call center service. We'll do the entire stack, which is really important. But we wanted to package that for startups. So when we started Highway One, it was very much around very early stage startups. We've changed the program in the last 2 years, and we now run it out of Shenzhen in China, and it's for later stage startups. And it's ones that we know they're closer to going to market. They've got great product ideas, and they can prove that they can actually sell a product. Because it's really hard to make a product. It is far harder to sell a product and retain the margins. It's really hard. So today, we're looking for later stage companies, and I've been here less than 24 hours, and I've seen probably between here and at some of the meetings I've seen 4 companies, and one of those companies is phenomenal, like amazing. It's a company that I think that with the right help and the right the right guidance and the right supply chain, they can be a global company. There is no question of it. And it's not the kind of company that will have to sell out in a couple of years. They can actually keep going. We can engineer a supply chain that makes it cash flow positive for them really fast. They seem really disciplined. When we look at a hardware company or a startup, 3 things we look for. And we use the acronym PCB, which is not printed circuit board. It's product, company, and business. And product, these guys have a great product. Company is the people. And these entrepreneurs, founders are really seasoned, really good, very sharp. And the business, they have very similar philosophy to ourselves about being, really asset light and really good partnerships and good relationships in the business. So, yes, we're very excited to be looking for opportunities here in Israel.
So I guess the guys from DLD put us together on stage, not because just that we're nice people. It's probably creative thinking and entrepreneurship. As an artist, I don't see much differences. Obviously, the end result is, but the way you roll, you operate as an artist is similar to a CEO.
So I had a question, because we were told to ask each other questions. One of the questions I have, lots of people try and put tech and art together. How did you do it, and have you made it successful?
So, I have art was, since I'm a kid, my life. I used to paint since I was a kid. I studied art in Bezalel, and I found myself very early on being very attracted to what was happening in Silicon Valley, which became the internet. And it was much more attractive to me at the time than art. And I found myself 17 years entrepreneur in high tech, experting and focusing on creating visualization, 3D technologies. And so when I decided to do art, it took me 10 years to develop my philosophy, my art, and deliberately I chose to create art using code. And through code, create meaningful artworks that will touch people's heart, as I do believe that an artist's role is to push the language of art forward and make a disruptive change. If I'm allowed, perhaps I'll share some of my latest work. Okay. It's hard to talk about art without showing, so I'll show some. Okay, so the first thing I'll share is an exhibition which I opened last Thursday, and I call it Uncanny State. It started 4 years ago, where I was invited to participate in a Biennale in Germany, and everybody received a wall to project their art, and I received a lake. So, thinking out of the box, I created a new fountain, if you will, and I used a new vision technology that I was developing with 3 post-PhDs experts in vision technology, and I digitized Sharon Eyal. She's a very famous world-known choreographer and contemporary dancer. And then I projected the water dancer on water. Some of you have seen it live in Tel Aviv, in Germany, etc. And after working on that, I entered the studio. And for the last 4 years, I basically extended it to a series which I call Uncanny State, Notion of Acceptance. Really what it is, the figure, the dancer, which in a way is androgynous. It's not a male, it's not a female. Each one, I created a physical 3D simulation where the 6 of those are the 6 elements that we're all made of and the universe is made of. And each one is kind of inviting you to experience a whole mental state. Whether it's air, you can see the negative space and the footprint that we all generate. We cannot see it, but we generate. It could be ether, what the universe is made of, the space between the particles, oxygen, nitrogen, water, and fire. And together they form a dancing band, if you will, but each one is presented in its own. And I call it, the subtext is notion of acceptance, because we enter a new revolution from the Industrial Revolution to the Information Revolution, and now we're entering the Augmented Revolution. And nobody asked us as people if we are happy or want this revolution. It's just coming so fast at us. Our reality perception is going to be empowered by artificial intelligence. It's going to be empowered by genetic modification, by robotics. We'll be able to see if the person next to me is now embarrassed, if he's lying. I go to a hotel room, I can see how many germs are around me. I don't know if it's something I asked for, but it's coming our way. So this notion of acceptance is a fundamental part of our ability as humans to accept change and adapt to change, because the change is happening all around us all the time. This is the installation in Alon Segev Gallery. And as you can see, I used here sculpture videos. Those are 6 sculptures. And when you stand next to each one of those dancers, you have the tension between your body to the sculpture itself. Some are transparent, so you can see between other dancers. So you have this spatial experience. So this was oxygen. The next one is ether. And each one really touches a different internal aspects of our soul and feelings. The music is by Rosie Chan. She's one of the most talked about pianists. She's based in London, and she wrote this classical electronic piece for the work. And I think it works really well with this futuristic aesthetic. Because we don't have a lot of time, so this was the exhibition, and it's open until the end of October. It's really 1 kilometer from here. I'm going to be there tomorrow if you guys want to come and see, but we'll continue now.
While you're there, can you tell me a little bit more about the NASA project?
Thank you. Coincidentally, I have it on the screen. I talked before in DLD before about the NASA project, but I think one thing, just for those who didn't hear about it, so I was approached by NASA 4 years ago, and they told me that they are building a zero-gravity 3D printer, and they intend to install it in the International Space Station 2 years from that phone call. And they said that they believe humanity has a future in space, and art is a big part of being human. Therefore, would you like to do the first piece of art that will be produced in space? And I said, of course, and to make a long story short, I invited the world to laugh last December 2017. I created an app, 30 days, over 300,000 laugh stars from 150 countries were created. I asked people to choose which laugh stars should represent humanity, so 100,000 were submitted to the competition. And at the end of mid-January, we knew who won, a lady from Seattle. And just to show, this is just a video the astronaut took of the end result floating in space. While it's going to run, I'll explain that will lead us to sustainability, the next thing that we share. So when I worked on Laugh, here you see the Laugh star floating in zero gravity. It's really containing a laughter of Natia from Seattle that tens of thousands of people selected. And what made me proud, besides being lucky to receive this project, was that I still live in times where the decision maker thought that it worthwhile to give an artist access to the smartest people and expensive technologies to do something that doesn't have any return on investment except unifying our souls, showing how beautiful we are and how fragile we are. But what happened through this project, the world, having Obama as president and things seems like normal, all of a sudden, during those 3 years, the Arab Spring started, the war in Syria, millions of refugees escaping, the right wing raising up in Europe, as well as Brexit, Trump, and many other issues. And so, after this project, I started to look on Earth and think how I can use art to help. So we continue our conversation, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit earlier outside. A big part of our focus is working with companies. So when we engage with a company, they have to be passionate about design, they have to be passionate about their brand, and they have to be passionate about the consumer experience. And that's when we know we can engage. And the other part of it is that all of them will have a sustainability focus. And again, we've created our first sustainability report back in 2011. And we started publishing the reports a bit later, maybe about 2013. It is probably the most powerful piece of work we do every year because everybody in the company is aware of it. People are very proud of it. We identify if anyone is photographed in the report, they're named. It doesn't matter if they're working on a production line in China or working in design in San Francisco or engineering in San Francisco. Everybody is named. And this is really important. Now, earlier we talked about you're doing some work on sustainability. For all of our clients, it's a huge, huge issue.
Yeah, and it's so great to hear that because you are, through you, or so many consumer products and products are coming to the market, and hearing that the gateway really controls sustainability is fundamental. Well, what happened to me after NASA, I really decided to focus on the plastic pollution. And I would say a year and a half ago during DLD Berlin, I actually shared that I'm going to work on it on stage. And since then, what I entered is we created a very ambitious project, which I intend to release it in Venice Biennale, the Art Biennale in 2021. And it's following a new art-ism, different ism like surrealism, cubism, etc. There is a new ism founded 2 years ago, which is art utile. And in essence, it's useful art, which means art not just for the sake of aesthetic and the discussion within the art world, but really art that comes to the world and literally makes a change and help. And for me, it unifies both my experiences, art and entrepreneurships. So what we intend to do, and I'm collaborating with people like the Technion and the Institution of Marine Science Research in Italy, we're creating this machine, this massive machine, industrial machine, and that will be able to take any form of plastic, not selective plastic, and shred it, convert it into a form of an ink that will be fed into a huge robot that will print physical building blocks that can be used for not just art, but really, refugee, temporary housing, etc. ISMAR, which is the Institution of Marine Science, they gave me their villa, 16th century villa in Venice. It's a very strategic villa because whoever goes to the Biennale, whether it's the Giardini or Arsenale, has to pass this villa. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert it into sort of a factory. So when you come in, we're partnering with people like SIPA and San Pellegrino, etc. There's going to be a huge repository of plastic, as well as our gondola, who will go through the canals every day, invite tourists to throw their plastic bottles, and people will take the bottles, go in. There's going to be this rail that will create this large plastic waterfall constantly, and it's going to fall. I'm going to make music, sampling the sound of different shredding. So the plastic fall into this massive shredder, and in front of people's eyes, in 30 minutes, it will convert it into a sort of material. And on the other side, there is this massive robot created by another company, WASP, an Italian company. But instead of printing cement, it's going to print recycled plastic. And for the opening of the Biennale, we'll already have a temple. It has to be a spiritual feeling. I want people to walk in, go up into this temple that was printed from garbage, and only see the ocean and the sky, and have this sort of emotive, impactful feeling. But it's not stopping here. It's not just the temple. The whole system, we're structuring it as an outcome venture. Literally, that the solution will be installed on ships in the Caribbean that will take plastic from the ocean, go to places where people lost their houses, give them an app. They can design temporary housing. The system will print it on location. It could be also providing a solution to the refugee issues and sanitary, in Africa. Excuse me.
I could see it being useful in San Francisco.
Yeah, so I think hearing from Liam, I lost my voice. Perhaps you could.
Yeah, so again, as I said, besides startups, we work with some really large multinational companies, some of the biggest brands in the world. And for them, this whole sustainability is a huge, huge issue. I spoke to one CMO recently of a company, and he said to me, Liam, the last thing we want, or the last thing we can afford to happen to our business is to get caught in the crosshairs of the plastic straws. So it's something that they're all so concerned about, which is great. And it's great to see them being...
Yeah, utilizing it in art. Art doesn't have hidden agenda. It's not a marketing campaign. It comes from the deepest internal guts of the artist. And the only thing you want to do is really make an impact, not just on the aesthetic, emotional experience, but really creating a group of decision makers and companies that currently are polluting the world, and giving them an opportunity to join a project that literally can convert it into...
And as artists, you're great communicators and articulators of important messages, and this is probably one of the most important messages of our time.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you. This was interesting. And if you want to go to see Alon, it's at the Segev Gallery here in Java.